Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I am James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Fast.
And we are filming our favorite kind of video today. We are filming what we read last month, which was June of 2020.
Yes, this is I say this every time, but this really is my favorite video.
It's just fun.
It's sort of like being in the office again.
Yeah. So Jessica blew me out of the water this month. I have read two,
So Mima's going to make us hold these up so she can do this screenshot. Can we hold it long enough?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm cheating a little. I have read 2.5 books because I'm still working my way through How to Be an Anti-Racist.
You do that every single time, right? Oh, let's talk about How to Be an Anti-Racist first, because that was mine.
Oh, snap! I didn't know that you were reading it this month, too. This is incredible.
I love him.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's been doing the work, How to Be an Anti-Racist, whether it's this book or White Fragility, or So You Want to Talk About Race, or any of the other books on the subject, or thinking about doing it, it's hard. And I guess hard is the wrong word. I think that it's an uncomfortable process for white people who really want to do this work, and I think it needs to be done. But I really loved what he had to say and the historical context.
I think he does it in a way that from the beginning, there's no way that you could possibly not pay attention to him. Like, he hooks you in, he makes it incredibly personal.
His style of writing, the way he would start to tell you a story about himself, maybe let's say from his childhood, and then he would seamlessly drift away from the story to talk about historical context of race or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden you'd be back at the story. But it's just, the writing is fantastic.
It's basically a conversation with him. It's like he's sitting at your dining room table telling you his life and his experiences and what it means to be an anti-racist. It's so brilliant. And
I have read, and I think you have too, both White Fragility and So You Want to Talk About Race.
Yes.
And I felt like this, if you've read those books, this is still an important book to read, because those books talk about race and this talks about anti-racism. And I think that's a really important step that everybody should be taking, that it's not just about understanding your own biases and racism and white supremacy, but also what steps that you then need to take to be an anti-racist.
Yeah, and that's what I think we've all read them. We both read the three of them pretty much together.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great, especially for white people, it's a great progression to start with White Fragility, just to really like recognize everything that comes with being a white person and how you need to, put that aside.
Yeah.
Read So You Want to Talk About Race to have that broader discussion, and then read this so that you can put it all into action.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, but this was wonderful. And if you consider yourself an anti-racist or you don't, I don't care. Read this book. It's worth it. You must. It should be required reading in schools and colleges everywhere.
Yeah, it should be. In life.
In life, yes, in general.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of calling my local library and asking them if they would do a book club on it, and then a Zoom book club.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For the town, because I really think this is important.
Yeah.
I'll go with my other two nonfiction. One was an audiobook. I've been doing more audiobooks because I've been walking Olive in the morning, and we like our audiobooks. This was Who Thought This Was a Good Idea by Alyssa Mastromonaco. She worked at the Obama White House.
Oh, okay.
And it was fun. It was interesting. It was tales from inside the White House. She talked a lot about how she got into politics, which seems somewhat roundabout, which I think is what people would not expect. And I just like insights. I've been reading a lot of biographies suddenly, as you'll see.
You have.
As you'll see next month. And it's been really interesting to hear people's stories, but also to get sort of this insider view of worlds that we have ideas of but don't necessarily know.
Even if it's not a remarkably interesting world, it's so cool to hear people talk about something that they do and are passionate about, even if for you it's boring as hell. It's just interesting to listen and how they got to it and how they continue to change it. It's just really cool.
Yeah, and I like her. She just seems like somebody I'd hang out with.
Did she read it?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Yeah, I do like when the audiobooks, well, I'll talk about that more next month with one of my books, but I do really like when they read their own books.
Yeah, for sure.
The other nonfiction I read was The Art of Gathering.
Okay.
Which was really interesting. It takes a look at gatherings, and by gatherings it could be holidays or birthday parties or, meeting a friend for coffee or meetings at work. And it really talked about how we do those gatherings, why they matter, and how we could do them better.
That's really interesting, especially given COVID.
Yes, exactly. But it really made me think even of our own BookEnds meetings. Like, why do we do these meetings? Like, what is the point of those meetings? And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've slightly changed things up because the meetings were very sort of read the agenda, report news about each other that we already knew, and move on. And
it was a meeting that could be an email, basically. Like
that actually was already all on Slack.
Right.
So, but it made me take a step back and think, well, the whole purpose of these meetings from beginning of BookEnds was connection. It was the point of having conversation and connecting with each other. So I'm not always getting it right, but I've made a point of trying to make those meetings more about connection and getting to know each other better and having conversations that we may not even known that we wanted to have.
Right.
And that's all because
as the meetings grew and more people came to BookEnds, like it was more like this could get unwieldy and we started to focus in, but I agree.
Yeah, I think with more people there, people talk less. Like we used to chat about, clients or family or just general life stuff or, car problems, whatever. And we stopped doing that. And so I'm trying to bring more of that connection in. So yeah, this was a really interesting book. And it even, like I said, talked about like holidays and events and birthday parties. And I think it would be useful for a Zoom call. Like if you want to do a Zoom birthday party, well, why? Just to celebrate your birthday? Or do you want to, she talks a lot about having like a planned conversation, like making people bring something to the table, like tell me about, your favorite pet, like sort of throwing it on to somebody to elicit a bigger conversation. So it was a good read. I liked it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Is it my turn?
Yeah, I think so.
I read A Burning by Megha Majumdar this month, and she's actually an editor at Catapult. And it was on my list since the minute I heard about it, I think a couple months ago, and I just patiently waited. I just threw it. It was basically a young girl is implicated, she's about probably my age, she is implicated in a terrorist attack in India on a train.
Oh.
And she did not do it, but it's all about her journey to trying to clear her name and the people who could very much do that if it didn't unravel their lives. So it was really fast paced. Kept you guessing what was going to happen. You didn't quite know where it was going to go until it got there. And I love books that have several point of views and just kind of bounce back and forth. And I think this did it really well. But yeah, I recommend it. It was good.
That sounds good. That sounds right up my alley. And I would love more books set in India. I don't get enough
submissions. It was so interesting. Like she really brought it to life.
Yeah.
Like, very few books do you read and the book brings a setting to life.
Right.
Like the way My Sister the Serial Killer did for Lagos.
Yes.
I felt like this did the same thing for India.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really great.
So I'll do one. Well, I'm just going to do quick. I read Denise Mina's Conviction. It's about a podcaster, or it's about a podcast, and I love those kinds of social media books. Yeah. It's a Race Book Club book. It was good. I didn't love it, I have to say, and I think maybe it was my mood more than anything because it's got great reviews, it's got a lot of attention, and I think I've seen a lot of podcast-oriented books since this was published, so I was less excited about than I would have been had I read it a while ago.
Yeah, and also like everybody is in a different reading mood, I guess, and
Yeah.
it's gotta for me right now, it's gotta get me from the first page, and I have to stay with it because
Yeah.
if it's not doing that, I feel like my attention span has gone to the wolves. It's just completely gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you want to go? I have two left.
All right. Well, I will do my last one. This was actually a gift from you.
Oh,
Yeah, this is fresh, and I realize now that I hold these up and it's backwards. Fresh water. Is it backwards?
no, it's perfect for me.
Oh, okay. It's just backwards to me. I don't know how computers work. Like the time that I held a sign up and then posted the video and everything was backwards.
It was you made the sign, and then you and the intern at the time decided it was going to be backwards, so made the sign so the words were written backwards on the sign, and then that's how they showed up on the video. That was so funny.
It's not my proudest moment, but it happened and we're moving forward.
It was a great moment.
Anyway, this book was, I thought, excellent. So it's about a young girl in Nigeria who basically has split personalities disorder.
Oh.
And that's what I thought it was about. But when I started it, she's actually I'm gonna use this term loosely, possessed by a god.
Oh.
And it has two different personalities, and they kind of like surface in her life, especially when trauma happens. But it was just it was a super quick read. I think it was only like 200 and something pages, but it kept me going till the very end. Even if at some points I didn't know exactly what was going on, it
Right.
always sort of like cleared up for me, and it just kept me going. It was so good.
Wow. Look at that rave.
I for some reason I've gravitated towards dark in the middle of a pandemic, go figure. But it was dark and a little kind of creepy, but it was so good.
That's all. I'll put that on my list.
Yeah, well, I'll bring it whenever I return to the office.
So I saved my two favorites for last. One you'll recognize.
Oh, I love this book.
Yeah.
We have had like 7 conversations about it.
This book has been on my list. I mean, it was published in 2019, so for almost a year or more. And finally, I bought it because I've been buying a lot of books. And everything you said about it was right. This was a really wonderful book. And, you know, it's funny because I read reviews not till after. So I track all my reading on Goodreads because when somebody says, what are some good books, I need something to refer to. I can't remember. And when I go to post it on Goodreads, I like to read the reviews then. And there were people who said they thought the ending was slow, and I think they are wrong.
I read a couple reviews, and I did not agree with any of them. I thought it was so incredibly good.
The way he created the world. So for those who don't know, it's a book about a slave in the South, obviously. And eventually, and I think this is in the copy, so I don't think this is a spoiler, eventually he gets out of slavery. So it's sort of this whole story, but it has this mystical element to it and the history, but the world that he created for all these characters to live in is just, I loved it. So after I finished that, I went straight into something not heavy. I devoured the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy. I guess it was a couple of years ago now.
It was in like 2 weeks that you finished it all.
It was so fun. Just fun. And if you've seen the movie Crazy Rich Asians but haven't read the book, go read the book. Completely different. They aren't even the same beast. Having read the book and seen the movie, I knew exactly what they were going to do with the movie. And I actually think what they did was the right way to make the movie, but there's so much more to the book. But so this is Sex and Vanity. This is his new one. It is not connected with the other books. It's actually set in New York.
Oh, cool.
Still so much fun. And I think part of it for me, I'm sure there will be reviews that it maybe wasn't as good or this or that. And I disagree. This is just the perfect fun beach read. I mean, look at it. It even looks like a fun beach read.
Yeah.
So shiny and happy. So Those were my books.
Well, you definitely read more than I did this month, and I think you're already on track to read more than I do next month.
I've been on a roll lately.
Yeah, you have. Show off.
Right now, but we're reading the same book again. Aren't we both reading Mexican Gothic?
Yes, I started it the other night and I fell asleep on it. Like I was reading it until I fell asleep.
It's not boring.
No, it was just late and I was reading it until I fell asleep. So we will both talk about that next month. Well, this was fun. As always, if you have any suggestions, don't hesitate to drop them in. And if you read any of these, we want to hear your thoughts. Of course, put them in the comments. We love to talk about books.
And everybody read How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Yes.
All you white folks, it's very important.
We mark it required reading for all of our followers and subscribers.
We do.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you next week with our more publishing-related video.
Yep, and next month for what we read.